On the show today, we dissect the biggest week in Australian sport.
Can the Wallabies beat England in the Rugby World Cup?
And should Justin Hodges be playing on Sunday?
Stick around for all that and more. This is the Armchair Experts. Hello and welcome to the Armchair Experts, and thank you so much for joining us. My name's Daniel Jeffrey, alongside me is Jordan Matthews, and together we'll be breaking down one of the biggest weekends of Australian sport this year.
That's right, we'll be previewing the AFL and NRL Grand Final, as well as chatting to a local boxer who's preparing for the fight of his life. But first, let's get some news headlines, where we'll start with the latest from Australia's tour of Bangladesh.
Australia's tour of Bangladesh is set to be abandoned without a ball being bowled, amid concerns for player safety. Although no official announcement has been made by Cricket Australia yet, the killing of an Italian aid worker by Islamic State in Dhaka on Wednesday will almost certainly see the tour cancelled. Australia's test players were sent to their state teams yesterday, ahead of the start of the Matador Cup on Saturday. Jonathan Thurston has made NRL history, winning the fourth Dally M medal of his career by a record 11 votes. The Cowboys playmaker had a stellar year, guiding North Queensland to a top 4 finish and spearheading the side's 11-match unbeaten streak. Thurston will have a chance to cap off his successful year when the Cowboys take on the Brisbane Broncos in this week's Grand Final. The records were also tumbling at the AFL's awards night on Monday, as Fremantle star Nat Fyfe claimed his first Brownlow medal. Fyfe polled a record 17 votes in the first 8 rounds of the season, becoming the Dockers' first Brownlow medalist. The star midfielder also became the first player since 1930 to win the award after missing 4 or more games in the home and away season. The spate of injuries at the Rugby World Cup has hit Australia, with forwards Will Skelton and Wycliffe Palu ruled out of the tournament. Both players suffered muscle injuries during the Wallabies' big win over Uruguay on Sunday, and have been replaced in the squad by Sam Carter and James Hansen. Australia's next game is the crucial Group A encounter with England on Sunday morning.
Yeah, obviously a massive game for the Wallabies on Sunday, but there's 2 pretty big games on in Australia as well this weekend. So we'll start with the AFL Grand Final, West Coast vs Hawthorn at the G. They played each other in a qualifying final 3 weeks ago, with West Coast winning. How much can we read into that, do you think?
Oh, not a great deal, I don't think. I think for West Coast, they can kind of use that game as a bit of a blueprint for how to win this weekend. But from Hawthorn's point of view, I mean, the Hawks played really badly that game. Their kicking efficiency was poor, and they were also playing on a ground that they're not used to. So I think with this game being at the MCG, I think you don't read too much into that last one.
Okay, so in saying that, what do you think Hawthorn can do to win?
They need to break strong off halfback. That's one of this side's real strengths, with guys like Burgoyne and Isaac Smith. You know, if they get that run going out of halfback with those guys really dominating, I think that's one of their real key areas. Yeah,
definitely. Look, I think for me, the thing that stood out against Fremantle was how clean they were with their ball use. You know, they use the ball better than any team in the competition. We've seen them do it for years now. I think if they can continue to, kick short and use their hands and run and carry when they need to, they can really carve up West Coast through the middle of the park. And I think that's, if they're going to win, that's probably where they'll dominate.
Okay, the other side of the ball, what do West Coast need to do?
Look, I think what they did well against Hawthorn in that qualifying final was they played that suffocating defensive pressure, and especially in the forward half, where they really locked the ball in and they suffocated Hawthorn and didn't allow them to run. They cut down that ball use and didn't give them the opportunity to score as freely as they'd like. So I think if that that's their blueprint, as you said before. If they're going to win, that's probably where they're going to get on top.
Yeah, for me, their forwards need to have good games. I mean, there's been a lot made about how good West Coast's forward line is, and it is very good. Josh Kennedy, Jack Darling, Mark Lacroix, these guys have got to have big games, and that's something Hawthorn didn't have to deal with last week. They were playing Freo side without a great forward line. This week, though, West Coast have really got to capitalise on that, and they can't afford to be leaving goals at the table. They kicked 20 behinds last week. You can't do that in a grand final and expect to win.
No, absolutely not. So in saying that, who are your key players across the match?
I'm going to say Brian Lake for Hawthorn. As I said, Eagles' forward line is terrific. And Brian Lake's got a really big task ahead of him trying to stop Josh Kennedy. If he does that, though, if he limits Kennedy's impact to a couple of goals, that makes West Coast's job a hell of a lot harder.
Yeah, definitely. Look, for me, I think the one area that West Coast can really get on top is in the ruck, in the middle of the park. And I think Nick Nanui is going to match up on David Hale. Now, David Hale's a decent ruckman, but Nick Nat can really dominate him around the ground. We've seen how athletic he is. He's a game changer. He's the kind of guy who could have a massive game for West Coast and really give them that edge in the middle.
Okay, and how about a tip for the game and for the Norm Smith medalist?
Look, I'm going to go with West Coast. I'd love to see them win. We obviously know how good Hawthorn are, but I'm going to stick with West Coast. And I think if Nick Nat can get up in the middle, Matt Prittis is probably the obvious choice for a Norm Smith, but I'm going to go with a smoky. I'm going to go with Sharad Wellingham. He's one of the 3 guys in that West Coast outfit that has played in a grand final, obviously 2010 with Collingwood. He's been there, he's done that. He's been in red hot form, and I think, he's probably one to look out for.
Yeah, I just can't go past the Hawks for this game. This is an experienced side. They know how to win finals. They know how to win grand finals. They've done it the last 2 years. And I think West Coast don't have that big match experience. So for me, I'm going to take Hawthorn, and for me, Sam Mitchell for the Norm Smith medal. He's been playing fantastic footy the last few weeks. Can't see him slowing down anytime soon.
Moving on now, and from one heavyweight bout to another, local boxer Nathan Bell was preparing for the fight of his life against former rugby league player John Hopoate. We went down to Ulladulla earlier in the week to chat to the man that they call the King. Nathan Bell, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about this fight with John Hopoate and how it all originated.
Yeah, I had a bit of an attack on John about a couple of things that kind of happened which relate to the personal details, but as I said, I won't go there. That's a deal I made with John that we wouldn't bring this up for any promotional reasons. Since then, it's been really easy, and he wanted it more than me. I'll just put it in that way. But now that we've got a hold of it, we're going to run with it and take it as far as we can, and hopefully get another fight after I beat John.
So tell me a bit about the weight loss, as you spoke about. What's your goal weight, and what were you at before you started getting back in the ring?
Well, I was very close to 170. I know I don't look like a bloke who's lost 30 kilos, but I've lost 30 kilos in short time in that. I've worked my tail to the bone, losing that 30 kilos, and I don't think I'll be stopping at 30. I'll be hopefully getting down to 115, 116.
Tell me a bit about how social media and that local fan base has impacted the promotion.
Well, everyone knows me as a bit of a hothead around this town, and I've got a massive ego, and I'm not going to lie, I've got the biggest ego I know. So people already knew me, whether they loved me or hated me. I'm an entertainer. I've always been an entertainer. This is just another platform for me to entertain my fans, as I like to call them, for Team King. So we've got a Facebook page there called #TeamKing, where I've got a couple of thousand people there now that are in support of the fight, and I'm very grateful, very grateful. I've got a good team behind me, as I said, that are promoting it all, and if you're behind me, then you're going to be on the winning team.
So tell me a bit about the fight in general. When's it likely to take place, and how's that been preparing for that?
Yeah, I've had this question a lot on the social media actually. We're looking next year, November. Look, the longer I can promote this thing and lose the weight, the better it's going to be for us, and I hope people can understand that. The Mayweather-Pacquiao fight got put off for 10 years, and in my opinion it didn't fail. And this won't fail either. The build-up is always better than the fight in most cases. But I hope people can understand that I want to get in the best shape. I don't want to fight him next week. I'll get pummeled next week. I want to fight him next year in November in my hometown in front of my people, and I want to knock him out. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to put all this work in to lose to this guy. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. Okay, you're going to find out how much we hate each other when he's here.
You're obviously very confident.
I'd put myself at about 95% at the moment. The other 5% is based on I could have a car accident between here and the fight, and apart from the car accident, I think I'll beat him.
And if Hoff was sitting here right now, you have one thing to say to him, what would it be?
I don't think I'd be talking to him, but if I did have something to say to him, I'd be saying, look, don't come here for a holiday. Don't come here for a couple of days off, because this is This is Payne City you're coming to. This isn't going to be a fun little trip for you and a little fight and a little local event. You're fighting someone better than you think. Okay, I don't mind flying under the radar so far, but you need to know what you're up against.
Nathan Bell, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, obviously a fairly confident fighter.
Yeah, definitely. And Hopper's no mug. We're talking about an ex-Australian heavyweight champion boxer. So, it'll be very interesting to see how the King comes fight night.
Yeah, it certainly will be worth watching. But let's move on to what we learnt this week. Jordan, what do you got for us?
Look, NBA season must be just around the corner because Derrick Rose is injured again. And in case you missed it this week, first day of Chicago Bulls training camp, he's copped a stray elbow to the face and he's suffered an orbital fracture to his left cheekbone. Looks like he's going to need surgery. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. It's really disappointing because, we're talking about a guy here who was the youngest ever MVP at 22 years old in 2011. Since then, he's missed over 200 games of basketball. He did his meniscus twice, he did his ACL, he just continues to have setbacks, and we really want to see Derrick Rose up and firing for an NBA season because he is one of the best point guards in the league. But, it looks like we might have to wait again.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sad story with Derrick Rose. I'm going to look at an Aussie athlete, though, and say that I learned, or at least was reminded, just how frustrating Quade Cooper is. I mean, he showed flashes of brilliance against Uruguay on the weekend. A nice line break and a step and a cut-out pass to set up one try, a flick pass to set up another. Two brilliant bits of individual play. And then he showed his other side. 6 missed conversions, yellow card, which was his 3rd in 4 games. I mean, he's such a wonderful footy player, but you almost just can't pick him because of that Achilles heel he has. It just must be so frustrating for Michael Shaker.
Moving on now, and from one frustration to another, the NRL judiciary continues to leave fans scratching their heads after Justin Hodges gained a reprieve to play in this weekend's grand final. We took the issue to the Whiteboard to break it down.
This week, there have been 2 main groups of NRL fans. Those who wanted to see Justin Hodges play in this week's grand final, and those who didn't. Or put simply, Brisbane Broncos fans and New South Welshmen. Now, on the face of it, it would be pretty stiff for Justin Hodges to be missing any games, let alone a grand final that happens to be the final match of his career, for a tackle like this one. There was another tackler, and Aidan Guerra clearly jumps in the tackle to try and win a penalty for his side. However, when you look at some of the other offences that have led to suspensions this year, the issue becomes very murky. Take the example of George Burgess, who was banned for 2 games for throwing a water bottle at an opposition player. And the only really untoward thing about this was the inaccuracy of the throw, which missed the player by miles. Yet Burgess was rubbed out of South Sydney's only finals game this year. Another contentious one was Junior Paulo. The Parramatta forward was given 9 weeks on the sideline for this tackle. Now, with Burgess getting 2 weeks for tossing a water bottle and Paulo getting 9 weeks for a tackle that was described as a good one by the commentators, you can see why Justin Hodges might consider himself fortunate to be playing this weekend. But let's be honest, this is an issue that has been around for far longer than just a few weeks. The judiciary generally ranges somewhere between inconsistent and downright unpredictable. There have been plenty of cases where the rules seem to have been relaxed for players with Origin or Finals matches coming up. Josh Jackson playing Origin 3 this year comes to mind. And then there's the flip side, cases where players have been rubbed out of big matches. Isaac Luke and Cameron Smith are 2 examples. Here's the bottom line. The NRL judiciary needs to become more consistent. We need a system that clearly establishes which offences will earn 9-week bans and which ones will earn small ones, and which players earn grand final reprieves.
Yeah, look, it is a very grey area, and fans just don't know what they're going to get, do they?
Yeah, I think, and all we really want is a bit of consistency out of that. So, fingers crossed it'll improve next year. But let's stay in the NRL with the Fast Five and look ahead to the grand final. Cowboys versus Broncos. Who's your key player for the Brisbane side?
Look, for Brisbane, I'm going to go with Ben Hunt. His kicking game's improved a lot this year, and I guess where he excels is really taking the ball to the line, and he's done that really well this year. He's got something like 12 line breaks and 12 tries for the year. So, I'm going to go with him. I think he's obviously going to lead them around the park, and he's probably going to be their key player.
Yeah, he's certainly important. I'm going to go with Corey Parker, just named NRL Rep Player of the Year at the Dally M Awards. He's a seasoned professional. He knows how to win big games. He's good up the middle of the ruck, good tackler, and a very good goal kicker as well. So that could be really important for Brisbane.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and so what about the Cowboys? Who you got there?
Oh, Jonathan Thurston's the obvious one, but I'm going to go with Jake Granville. He at hooker this year, he's been really good with all the attention this game is going to be on Jonathan Thurston. I reckon he could make some really good, important metres up the middle of the ruck if they slack off a bit there.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't go Thurston. Thurston, I'm going to go him. I think it's going to be the key matchup's going to be the battle of the halves, is the halfbacks. So he won his 4th Dally M earlier in the week. He's had another stellar season. His kicking game's really good as well. And where Hunt excels in taking it to the line, Thurston really orchestrates that play around there. He's had something like 33 line break assists, and we know what he can do with his kicking game. So I think he's going to obviously be the key player for the Cowboys.
Cool. And do you have a pick for us for Clive Churchill and the game?
Look, I'm going to go with Brisbane. Only because I know the Cowboys have played really well the last few weeks, but I did go with Brisbane the last couple of weeks before that, and I'm going to go Ben Hunt. I think if they're going to play well, he's going to probably be a standout.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. As you said, they've been playing fantastic footy the last few weeks, and it's almost impossible to look past Jonathan Thurston for man of the match this game. I think I'm tipping him to lead them to a premiership.
Righto, and so with summer rolling around, obviously cricket's back in the action, so the Australian domestic one-day competition, the Matador Cup, starts this Saturday. Now the squads were released in the last few weeks. Who do you think's got the strongest squad?
If the tour to Bangladesh does get cancelled and all the test players go back to their states, it's hard to look past New South Wales. I mean, they had a very strong squad to begin with. Guys like Gurinder Sandhu, Sean Abbott, they're good players. But now they're getting Steve Smith, Mitchell Starc back into their side, Peter Neville, Steve O'Keefe, Nathan Lyon. That side is loaded. It's really hard to look past them. Yeah, definitely. And look, I'm going to go for Victoria. They've been a real powerhouse in domestic cricket for the last few years. Their batting's really good. They've got seasoned professionals up there like Dave Hussey, Cameron White. Matthew Wade's leading that squad now with the gloves. They've got a really good side, as well as James Pattinson, Fawad Ahmed. They'll get Glenn Maxwell back from the Test squad as well. So, it's really hard to look past the Vics. And so let's finish up looking at the Rugby Union World Cup. Big game this weekend. Can Australia beat England? Look, on form, you'd probably say yes, but I guess it just comes down to who Michael Cheika picks in that squad and if they can really perform on the day. Goal kicking is something you don't want to let us down. Quade Cooper missed 6 conversions last week. It doesn't look like he'll get the duties this week. It looks like Bernard Foley will probably take the reins again. So you don't want that to be something that separates the teams, and I don't think it will. Yeah, obviously a key area there is the goal kicking. I think the scrum is going to be so important for this game. I mean, the Wallabies scrum is much improved, but England traditionally always very strong in there. So the Aussies are going to have their work cut out in there. But if they do get on top, it really gives their backline a good platform to attack, and we know how good those guys are. On the flip side, though, if they don't go so well, then suddenly you're giving up penalties, could even get a few yellow cards. It's such an important issue. Yeah, absolutely, and let's hope they get the job done. Yeah, no doubt. We're running out of time here, guys, but before we leave, we'll give you something that we think is worth checking out over the next week or so. Jordan, what's your tip for us this week? Yeah, so Channel 7 aired a 90-minute documentary last night into the lives of the AFL captains. Pretty much gave us unprecedented access into these guys' lives at home, as well as at the footy clubs, into the meetings with the coaches, into the huddles, stuff you just don't normally see. So it's really interesting. It was done really, really well, so definitely worth something to check out. Yeah, on again tomorrow night on 7, mate. So definitely have a look at it. Really goes into depth about how much work these guys have to do on and off the field. All right, guys, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this week. So make sure you check us out on Facebook and Twitter, as well as subscribing to UOW TV to check out all the latest episodes. Yeah, that's right. We'll be back next week with another instalment of all your sporting news. Until then, grab yourselves a good armchair for the grand finals this week, and we'll see you then. Take care.